welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, welcome, glad you're here, hope you stay. In today's video, I am walking you through this look, which is a mostly full face of Rare Beauty. I decided to film this full face of Rare Beauty because I was sent the mascara and the new Brow Harmony Shape and Fill Duo, so I thought it would be fun to incorporate all of the other Rare Beauty products that I have while testing out those two products. I've got a wrap up at the end of the video that has my initial thoughts and first impressions of the new Brow Harmony Shape and Fill Duo, as well as the Perfecting Mascara, and a update on all of the other Rare Beauty products that I've collected over the last year. I'll have detailed timestamps listed down below in case you wanted to skip ahead to anything, but with all that out of the way, let's get into the video. I'm going to start by applying the Always an Optimist Illuminating Primer. I have the mini size. I did put down a pretty moisturizing base before I started applying my makeup today, just because I know that in the past when I've used this, I don't think it's a very hydrating or moisturizing primer, and I wanted to make sure I used a really nice hydrating base before applying the foundation and concealer. I've been feeling especially dry with the weather changes right now. I wanted to give every product the best chance to perform well. Use the sponge to press that in and really make sure that I've added as much moisture back into my face as possible. Moving on to the foundation, I do use the shade 160C, and I have a full review of this foundation already posted on my channel, which I will link in the eye and down below for you to check out if you are interested in seeing what my thoughts on this are. I have used this many times since I filmed that original review video, and spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, I do really enjoy this foundation. I am using my Haley's foundation brush to just blend this out. I have found in the past that this is pretty much the perfect amount of foundation for the coverage that I am typically looking for. I may have to build in a couple of areas where I've got some more active breakouts or more apparent scarring or healing spots, but this typically will give me medium coverage. I still enjoy the texture of this foundation. It goes on very easily like a serum and really just absorbs into the skin. I have the Rare Beauty concealer in the shade 160, and I also just recently picked up the concealer brush from Sephora, so I will be using that in this video, as well as a couple of other new Rare Beauty products. Here is what the brush looks like. I originally didn't pick this one up because I have similar brushes that are like this shape and this density, but I continue to hear really great things about this brush, so I thought that I might as well pick it up. I'm always looking for a good concealer brush, and since people are still talking about it and still using it a year later, I figured that maybe it is worth picking up. I do know that a little bit of this goes a long way, so I'm just going to start small with a couple of little dots underneath my eye and then on the outside, and then do a very small amount elsewhere. I do like the shape. I didn't realize how diamond shaped it was from the photos and when other people have been using it. So the tapered edge, or the sharper edge, actually does a really good job at working in these tighter areas. And the density does seem nice. I don't seem to be losing any kind of product to absorption. I am liking how the brush is getting underneath the eye, but I don't think that the concealer and foundation are meshing very well today. I did try a new eye cream this morning, so maybe that is why it's not looking the best underneath my eye. I do typically really enjoy this concealer, and I don't feel like it's doing its best today. It did not bring its A game. It is looking better under one eye than the other, so maybe I am just having an off skin day, but so far I'm not loving how the base is turning out. I have a couple of different blush choices, so while I am picking which blush to use, I'm going to start by applying the liquid luminizer in the shade Enlighten. I'm sure you'll know from past videos I am not a fan of this highlighter formula in the slightest, but let's see how it goes. Maybe I'll change my mind today. I'm going to blend that out using my beauty sponge. I just hate it so much. It left little splotches everywhere. I don't know how people enjoy this highlighter. It dries down, it leaves spots behind. Everyone else that I watch these reviews on make it seem like you have so much working time with them. But they're so beautiful. And I just can't make them work for me. I cannot make this highlighter formula work for me. It's just dried in a complete stripe right down my nose. In trying to blend out the highlighter, I've taken all of the coverage from my nose. So now I'm going to go over that with my foundation brush, anything left over on the foundation brush, and see if I can't get something back on my nose. I have 3 blushes to choose from. I have Bliss in the matte formula, Adore in the dewy formula. This one came in the birthday gift set. And then I have the shade Nearly Neutral in the melting blush formula. Here's Bliss, Adore, and the Nearly Neutral shade. I'm going to take my Melt 777. For now, I'm just going to start with the Nearly Neutral shade. I'm not sure, since there's no bronzer in this line, if I'm going to end up going in with bronzer or contour or just keep this strictly Rare Beauty products. Guess we'll see how it turns out once I finish applying everything. But I really like this color for me and my undertones. I feel like I can get away with using this as kind of like a blush bronzer. I can always go in and add more blush after I've figured out how the rest of the base is going to look. But for now, I think that this is fine. I'm going to prime my eyes now using the Rare Beauty Eye Primer. And I'm going to blend that out using the concealer brush. For eyeshadow, I'm just going to do a quick look since I don't have one of her eyeshadows. I'm using the Melt Petite Neutral Brown stack. I'm going to set the eye primer using the shade Mellow from the stack, but just in the crease and brow area. Next, using my Smith 232, I'm going to take the shade Tawny and work that into the crease. I'm also going to take the shade underneath the eye. On my Smith 253, I'm going to take the shade Almond and pack this onto my lid. Going back in with the shade Tawny to clean up any harsh edges. With the shimmer shade Glint, I'm going to take my finger and apply that to the center of the eye. And on a Sigma E15, I'm going to take the shade Cafe and line the lash line. I was sent the Perfect Strokes Universal Volumizing Mascara in the shade Black. And this is what it looks like in the outer packaging. Comes in a cardboard box similar to all of the rest of the products. And then once you open it, you have this little tag that says you are rare, and then you have the mascara tube itself, which does come in plastic wrap, which I'm a little confused about. If they have it in the box, why do they need the additional plastic? But other than that, I have no real issues about the packaging. It feels consistent with the rest of the brand, but there's something about the tube that feels cheap. The wand is quite giant. I am not typically a fan of these kind of giant wands, but we will see how it goes. So far, it's coating the lashes really nicely and evenly. I don't notice any kind of clumping. It's not doing a great job at separating, but that isn't one of the claims of this mascara, just more of a note. But I am being cautious because of the size of the wand and the size of what I have to grip. So it, again, is not something that I'm a huge fan of. I am kind of haphazard when it comes to applying mascara. I do tend to just throw it on. So with this kind of wand, I do feel like I have to be more precise with how I'm applying. It's feeling lightweight on the lashes though, but this is applying well to the lower lashes. I'm not getting any clumping or spidering effect. There is some nice lift. I don't notice a ton of lengthening. But overall, I think that it looks okay. Here's what one eye looks like with mascara and the other eye doesn't. It feels similar to applying a lash serum. It's going on very nicely. It's going on and makes my lashes feel softer in a way. It's gliding through them very nicely, I guess, is another way I could say it. Again, I'm finding the wand a little inhibiting. I'm able to build on the lower lashes a little bit more than I was able to build on the upper lashes, which I think is interesting. Since I already have you zoomed in, I think I'm going to go in with the new brow product, and that is the Brow Harmony Shape and Fill Duo. I was sent the shade Auburn, and it comes in the cardboard box like everything else. My box has definitely seen some things, which was a little sad that it came pretty busted up, but that is okay. And then here is what the packaging looks like. It has the flat side like the eye primer does or like the lipstick does, so that it doesn't roll away when you put it down. So that is pretty nice. And then it has the little brush that comes, and if you pull really hard, you've got a little spoolie and you've got a little angled brush. And I really like this, that it comes with the travel brush. And when you open it up, you've got a small mirror and your two shades. So it's meant to be a waterproof brow putty that softly shapes and fills in brows for a natural mistake-proof look that lasts. This breakthrough putty glides on creamy and sets to a buildable powder finish minus the fallout for an instantly fuller and more defined look that won't smudge. I have swatched these and I don't feel how they're a putty. They do just feel like a regular powder formula, but maybe there's a difference when you start applying it. So apply using the built-in 2-in-1 applicator. Use the angled brush to apply short strokes, filling in any sparse areas of the brows. Use the precision spoolie to comb through and shape brows or soften any harsh edges. Use the angled brush and working from head of brow to the natural arch, press the lighter shade of the putty into the brow to fill sparse areas. Use the same technique to apply the deeper shade from the arch to the tail. To finish, use the spoolie. So I guess there's a couple of different ways that you can use this. I am going to try using the brush that comes with it just to see if that makes a difference. I like this spoolie. I thought it was going to be a little bit small, but man, it packs a punch. These bristles are doing a great job at controlling my very unruly brows, especially the bad brow over here. I'm going to take the angled brush in the lighter of the two shades and start shaping my brow out and fluffing powder through my hair. It is definitely warm. I do typically prefer a warmer brow, so I don't mind that it's a little bit too warm. I don't normally opt for brow powders. I can generally go in with just a tinted brow gel or a good pencil, and it works out pretty okay for me. This brow I have more sparse in the front, so I think it's a little bit more noticeable that it's a bit too warm. The good brow always seems to do what I want it to do, and always looks how I want it to look. Despite being a bit warm, it still looks like a shape I want, and it's still following what I want it to do, whereas the bad brow just does whatever it wants. I am going to take the darker of the two shades and fill in the tail. Okay, so the darker one definitely is putty-like. I can see now, using the brush, that it definitely has that putty sensation. It's not one that I felt from just swatching. It's one that needed to be used in action to see the difference. And it's definitely giving my brows the effect it needed. I definitely like how it's looking with the darker shade added in with that additional dimension. I think it pulled it much closer to what I needed. I'm torn because I really want to put a clear brow gel through to just secure the hairs in place, but I don't want to affect the wear time of the brows themselves, so I think I just have to deal with it. But on a regular day, I would put a brow gel through this. Aside from being too warm though, I'm pretty happy with how the brows turned out. And the last thing I have is lips. I have 2 lip products. I've got the Mini Lip Souffle Matte Lip Cream in the shade Confident. And I also have the Dewy Lip Balm in the shade Thankful. Here's the Lip Souffle in the shade Confident. This came in the birthday kit. And then this is the Dewy Lip Balm in the shade Thankful. I am just going to go in with the lip balm in the shade Thankful. I don't think I need a lip liner with this one, but I guess we'll see how it looks after I've applied it and see if it gets a little out of hand. I can always clean it up. I think overall I'm not super happy with the lip in this look, but I think of the shades I had available, it was the best choice. I'm going to go quick style my hair because I took it down out of this ponytail and it does not match this look. So I'm going to go and do that, and then when I come back I will give you my initial thoughts on the new products and I will give you my updated thoughts on all of the older products. Here's how the final look turned out. I did try to style my hair and it just was not working out, so rocking the messy bun again, queen of the messy buns here. I am going to go over the products in the order in which I applied them. I feel like that's just the easiest way to do it. Starting with the Always an Optimist primer. I do have this in my project pan, so I have it marked where it last was, and that's what that mark is if you see it. I don't like this primer. My feelings on it are still the same as it's been every time I've ever talked about it. I've mentioned it in my project pan. I've mentioned it in a couple of other videos. This primer is just not for me. If you have oily skin, maybe you would like this. I just don't think that it's hydrating. It definitely has a shimmery, glowy effect, but it is far too shimmery for my liking. I don't like how it sits underneath makeup. I don't like how it sits on top of my skin. I overall would not recommend picking up this primer. It just doesn't reach any of the claims for me. It doesn't do anything that I find redeeming at all in it. I've got plenty of other illuminating primers I can recommend on top of this one instead of this one, but this just does not do it for me. Next is the Rare Beauty. I'm not going to say Rare Beauty every time I talk about something. I only used Rare Beauty, and the stuff that's not Rare Beauty I'm not going to talk about. So next is the Liquid Touch Weightless Foundation. Again, I wear the shade 160C. I do have other videos talking about this that I'll link above or in the description box because it's probably easier that way. I love this foundation. Since I've shaken it up and I'm holding it and kind of wiggling it around, you can't see how much I've used, but I have made quite a dent in the foundation, which I'm really happy about because this really is one of my favorite foundations. I love the way that it applies. I love the way it looks on my skin. I love the way it blends out. If I'm using my fingers, a brush, or a sponge, it's just something that always wears really well for me. I've been wearing it now for a while. I did take quite a break between when I filmed the look and when I'm filming this part of the video, and I still think that my skin looks amazing. I still think the foundation looks amazing. I am really happy with how my base has turned out despite not liking the primer underneath this. I just don't think you can go wrong with this foundation. Next, I used the concealer. As I mentioned before, I wear the shade 160C. You can see that there has been quite a dent in here. I may have to take out the stopper soon, which is always an achievement, especially in a concealer. I can see down to like the bottom. This is so exciting. I do really like this concealer. I like it far more than I thought I did originally when I first used it in the first try-on video that I did using this concealer. I thought that it was just like a concealer, but then I started using it all the time. It was the only one I wanted to use. It replaced all the other concealers I was using. I think that it has a great coverage. For me, I think the shade wears really nicely underneath the eyes and towards the center of the face. It's not one that I can use to spot conceal because it is a brightening concealer, so I wouldn't use this to spot conceal, but otherwise I think that the formula is really good. If I had a shade that matched better to my skin tone, I would definitely try using this as a spot concealer. I don't know that it's one that you have to go out and purchase right now at this very second, but I think that if you're someone who has finished a concealer and you're looking to try something new, that this one might tick the boxes for you, and you should really look into it. Next, I used the highlighter. This is the Liquid Luminizer in the shade Enlighten. I'm pretty sure I mentioned while I was applying this that I do not like this highlighter. I still don't like it. It still is something I am utterly confused about, how people are raving about this formula or even the color. I think that it is just an all-around not great product. It stained my face with those dots. It doesn't matter if I'm using a brush, my fingers, or a sponge to blend this out. It just doesn't blend out. It leaves the spots and the streaks, and I am not sure how anyone is able to make this work for them. I think this is probably one of the worst liquid or any highlighter that I've ever used. Maybe even one of the worst products I've ever used. I could never recommend this for anyone. Next was blush. I had the shade Bliss in the matte blush formula, the shade Adore in the dewy blush formula, and then the shade Nearly Neutral in the melting blush formula. And ultimately I did choose to go for the Nearly Neutral shade, which is one that I do like to use quite often. I do love this shade. I think it's just the perfect all over neutral tone for any look that maybe I'm not sure where I want to go with blush. This just suits me and my skin tone really well. But I just love this formula. I think that it is just kind of unique, actually. It goes on very sheer, but it's got just this really nice color. The formula itself is really easy to work with. It's very hard to screw this up. I just feel like it's a pretty foolproof blush formula. So if you are looking for an easy to use cream blush, this is definitely one that you should check out. Next, I have the Rare Beauty Eye Primer. I thought that I liked this, and the more I've used it, the more I realize I don't like it. It is definitely not something that lives up to my Paint Pot or the Bobbi Brown cream shadow wands. I have the shade Shell. I have the shade Shell, and I think that wears really nicely too. It gives more opaque coverage. But I am talking about the Rare Beauty eye primer. I have to stay on topic. I do not like this eye primer after all. I thought that in the past I could recommend it for certain occasions, but ultimately I just do not like it, and I'm just not sure that it serves its purpose very well. I find it to go on patchy. It's not as hydrating as I believe it claims to be. It leaves bald patches on my eye where I'm trying to apply eyeshadows. There's lots of creasing. I don't think it's very long wearing. Ultimately, it does not beat out my other eye primers. And after I finish this one up, I'm not going to be repurchasing. It's not one that I would consider purchasing again. And because of that, I just don't think that I can recommend it. I think that if I'm not willing to repurchase something, that it is very difficult for me to then say that you should purchase it in the first place. I'm not sure who would like an eye primer with this kind of formula, just because I don't find it to have any redeeming qualities after having used it now for as long as I have. It's just not something that I think you should spend your money on. I am going to rewind a minute and talk about the Rare Beauty Concealer Brush. I bought this on a whim because Sephora was doing something, if you spent like $50, you got extra points, and I wanted the points. I don't know. I bought it for some reason as like an impulse buy to make the minimum purchase for something. Anyway, I was really excited when I first held this. There's a nice weight to the handle, something that you don't find in brushes in my experience these days. It feels like it's actually made to last. And I like the size and the shape of it. It's very easy to hold, very easy to maneuver around. I also really like the diamond tip. I don't think that in the reviews that I've seen or the pictures I've seen that it really gives off a clear idea of how unique the shape of the brush is. So I do really like that. I like how easy it fits around the eyes and the nose. I found it really easy to apply my product there and to blend things out. I do like the density of the brush. I see myself getting a lot of use out of this. I am now curious about the foundation brush that I passed on in the beginning. But with how much I like this one, it's absolutely opened my eyes to trying more brushes from the line. Next, I tried the Rare Beauty Mascara. I have the mini size in the shade Black. I'm not sure it comes in any other shades than that. Since this is the first time that I'm using it, I'm a little bit cautious to say that I like it. I do think that it's fine. I don't know that it is more outstanding than some of the other formulas that I've tried recently. I have tried a lot of mascaras recently. I think that the formula is similar to the new Ilia volumizing mascara that just came out. I feel like I've got a really similar effect. The difference is that I don't see any flaking from the mascara. I think I may have some flaking because I was just kind of screwing around with my eyes a little bit while I was figuring out what I was going to say about the mascara, but I don't think if I hadn't played with my eyes I would have had any kind of fallout, so I will leave that for what it is. I really like the effect that it's given. I like how lifting it is and how it's held its curl. I like how it applied on the lower lash line. I'm not really a lower lash line mascara person, so I am happy that it's not messy or flaky. The formula itself is not heavy. It went on really nicely. It's very lightweight. It definitely is one that I could see myself reaching for and using again. It's not an immediate dislike, but I've been burned in the past by mascaras, so I'm a little cautious to say, yes, this is very good. But for a first try, I'm cautiously optimistic that this is going to work out well. On to brows. I used the new Rare Beauty Shape and Fill Duo. I have the shade Auburn. I am very, very surprised that I enjoyed this as much as I did. I really kind of thought, like, brow powder, you can't really go wrong, or what is an innovative putty brow formula. It just seemed a little gimmicky. I don't know if there's a better way to put it, but it just didn't seem special or unique to me. I was kind of like, okay, great. But in trying it, I'm really happy with it. I'm really excited about it. I am thinking about buying a shade that actually matches me a little bit better. I love the brush. I think that this is such a fun concept. I know I've seen a couple of other products that do come with a brush or an applicator for what you're supposed to use it for, and I love that it fits so nicely inside. I really like the size of this and how easy it is to just throw it in your bag. I could definitely see myself throwing this in my purse for a night out if I were to ever have a night out again. This is something that I do see myself just kind of carrying with me. I think that the mirror is nice, the applicator is nice. If you're someone like me that has a brow that just does not listen to you, I see this being really handy to have, especially because the spoolie is amazing. I don't think that I have another spoolie in brush form or in eyebrow pencil form that performs as good as this spoolie does. I want the option to buy more. I am just so happy with it. I'm not as excited about the angled brush. I think the angled brush is a little too fluffy. And fluffy is not a great term, but it's not as thin or precise as other angled brow brushes that I have. So if you're someone who really needs to fill in their brow hairs or draw in hair-like strokes, this is not going to give you a defined stroke. And I think that this brush that I found is a good example of what I mean about the fluffiness. I've got my Sephora angled brow brush, and then here is the Rare Beauty one. The Rare Beauty one is quite thick. I just don't think that you get precise brow hairs. It was good for filling in my kind of brows that don't need a ton of filling in and are more for like feathering in product just to shape and define it out a little bit. But if you're someone like my mom who has little to no brow hair, this is not going to be your friend. I think it's lasted really nicely. I think that it's still something that you would need to pair a brow gel with. The puttiness of it or the waxiness of it isn't enough to set your brows, so you still will need a brow gel to go in afterwards to make sure that you can get the hold of your brow hairs. But for shaping and filling, great job. Lastly is the lip product. I have a mini of the Lip Souffle in the shade Confident, which came in the birthday kit, and then I have a mini of the shade Thankful in the Dewy Lip Balm. Thankful is the shade that I am wearing on my lips. After I put this on and kind of wore it for a little while, I was a little disappointed I didn't choose to go with the Confident shade. I've worn this a couple of times but today while I was wearing it, it felt a little bit different than the other times. I don't think this is something that I would buy the full size of. I noticed that it felt kind of drying on my lips, and I didn't notice that the other times that I've worn it. So I do think that maybe because I've been wearing it a little bit longer than the other times where I've just thrown it on as a tinted lip balm, that maybe I wasn't paying enough attention. But as for today's video and coming with my roundup thoughts, I started to really kind of pick apart all of the products so that I had a well-rounded opinion to give you. And I've noticed that as I was really thinking about the lip balm, I just don't like it very much. When it goes on really nice, and it feels really hydrating, it feels really smooth, it feels very comfortable, but as it dries down and you're wearing it longer, it feels very tight. It does start to become drying, more uncomfortable, very noticeable on your lips that you're wearing it. I think as a short-term solution, it's something that could be okay. It's something that you could throw in your purse and have on hand in case of emergency, but it's not one that I'm overly excited to wear anymore. Maybe it's my lip color. I think when I swatch it on my hand or when I'm looking at it in the tube, I'm getting a different impression, but then when I'm putting it on my lips, it's just not quite a shade that I'm drawn to or one that I feel is very flattering on me, at least not when I'm looking in the mirror. I'm looking in the viewfinder and it looks okay, but there's just something about it that I'm not loving. It's not a shade that I feel like, it reminds me a lot of how I feel about the shade Teddy from MAC. Everyone loves Teddy, it's a great color, but when I wear it, I feel like it looks a lot like this. It looks a lot more red. There was a really long way of saying I don't like it. I don't like the formula either. I think that the longer that I've worn it, the more I've come to really not like this formula. And that's really disappointing because I really want to like it. I think when I swatch it, it looks really dewy and very satin and glossy and juicy and all of the things that you want in a hydrating tinted lip balm type of product, but it just doesn't give me any of those things once it's applied. Honestly, I have a lot more Rare Beauty products than I originally thought I did when I sat down to film this video. Let me know what you think of the new Rare Beauty products if you're planning on picking any of them up. But that's going to be all from me today. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have anything else you'd like to see from me, definitely let me know down below. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I will catch you again very soon in my next video.